All right, guys, and we are back at it, bringing you a fresh new episode on one of our least favorite topics, COVID.
True, but
Or as I call it.
it's still making impacts and making waves. So
It
we have a couple
is,
things
and
to
so
discuss.
yeah, we got a new survey that recently was out. That was been taken, and we kind of it just brought up some questions, and we wanted to get your guys' opinion, so we put a survey out. So again, if you're not following us on Instagram, you're guys going to hear this a lot. Follow us, because we're going to try to be asking you guys a lot more and getting you guys a little bit more engaged too, because we want your opinion.
As well as the Discord, we're going to ask them there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the
we're
survey,
going to try to be better, guys.
Yeah, so that also in mind, just thank you for bearing with us. I know we've been publishing a couple of replay episodes that we've published a while ago, and it's mainly because we've been just really consumed with other stuff. So thank you so much for bearing with us. We have a little fun side story that we did over the weekend at the very end. Feel free to kind of tune into that.
Ken tried to kill me.
But it has nothing to do with PT, so don't feel like you need to listen to that, but it's just a little side story. But other than that, let's get into the article. Let's get into our statistics. Let's get into our experiences. And let's go.
Boom.
You're listening to the PT Assistance Podcast with your hosts, Ken
and Laura. Thanks for joining for another exciting episode. All right, guys, like we said, we're back at it, and we are discussing kind of the long-term effects on our field, again, with COVID. I know we've kind of had some subjects as they popped up here and there of just what post-COVID life is like as a PTA and just for our field in general. But we're kind of diving down into a little bit more of the specifics of people and like whether they're part-time, full-time, what are the statistics, because we're actually getting surveys out now that are kind of stating what that looks like. So real quick, we kind of, again, going off the APTA, did some research. We're going to share just a portion of the study that was found. There's a lot more if you'd like to read on it. This one is called 3 Years of Physical Therapy in a Public Health Emergency. APTA members surveyed. Again, so this is only APTA members. Surveys show professionals returning to pre-pandemic norms with some lingering changes. So it kind of goes a little bit more in depth in some of the different changes, but the one that we're going to kind of focus on today is kind of the employment stats. And one of the things we found interesting, so I know we're PTAs, but I found this interesting because it even goes into PTs. And so we're going to cover both of those stats real quick. So PTs pre-pandemic full-time were 86%. Post-pandemic is 78% is full-time. Now, this is again was taken in 2022. Right now, PTs pre-pandemic that were part-time were only 13%. And PTs now part-time in 2022 were 18%. Did you kind of find that interesting, Ken?
No, I kind of figured that's what would happen.
Yeah. So the go on, sorry.
Wait. I was gonna do the PTA parser so I can start talking about something. All right, I got this. So for the PTA side, we see pretty much the exact same trend. So full-time from 82 to 73, so you see a drop off about 10%. And then part-time status went up 5% from 15 to 20. So the same trend from PT to PTAs. There's been a drop off of full-timers and an increase in part-timers.
Mm-hmm.
What it didn't really go into was if it was directly impacted because of COVID. It was just statistics pre and post. So who knows if people had like a family or maybe went out and went to change positions. Who knows? But those are just the statistics from pre to post.
The interesting thing is just talking with people in general that I work work with who are part-time or per diem now. A lot of it actually had to do with COVID. They just kind of were like burnt out. And so they're like, I love doing this work, but I don't want to work full-time anymore. I don't want to be tied down. I kind of want to do my own thing. This gives me a little more freedom, and a lot more of those people, who are in the position. Again, I understand that not everybody's in the position to go like that, but I've seen a lot more who have transitioned. They were home with their family and they're like, I like this. And so they've transitioned into that little bit more of a leeway lifestyle, which I think is awesome that they can do. Definitely in our field. That's the one nice thing about our field, I feel like.
Also, just from kind of like on your same standpoint, just personally from people that I know more people who want to be just part time. Also, I know some PTs and friends of PTs. Their graduating class, and if you're listening, yes, I'm talking about you. Their graduating class, they were telling me because they reached out to them recently, just like, check in, like, hey, how's everyone doing? Blah, 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 blah. Like their huge class group chat thing. And the majority of them are not even practicing anymore.
Yeah.
And who knows, that could be for many different reasons, whether it was COVID, family, maybe it wasn't what they expected from the field, maybe financial reasons. Like, but the point is that from the time she went to school, it's a she, and the time they're out, there are just not as many people practicing. And to be honest, like
Hmm.
if I reached out to my school right now, we've been practicing for what, 2 years, but we went through school throughout the heart of the pandemic, or the peak, I guess. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them aren't practicing either, or maybe we only know post pandemic. So someone
Hmm.
like you who practiced pre pandemic, and even in the article, there's a stat later on where they talk about PTAs and PT who has done home health or telehealth services. And
Yep.
pre-pandemic, telehealth services were minuscule and has skyrocketed ever since um, COVID. So
Yeah.
again, that's something that I personally didn't really have to do because when I started practicing, it was after COVID. But I know you did a little bit of the telehealth services.
We
Um,
did.
Did you think that would stay around? I know as far as coding wise and billing, like that was a whole mess, but it was just required because
Honestly,
no one was able to go anywhere.
I didn't think it would stick around as big as it has, and that's complete honesty. I still don't think it's growing as dramatically as everybody. A couple people thought it was going to take off and like become the new wave of PT, and that was just gonna how it's gonna be done. But I just don't think in our field that you can get rid of the hands-on. That's what really makes us skilled a lot. Um, so it's still, I'm surprised it's kind of kept right where it was. It's grown a little bit, but from the article, it's not like it's massively jumped up since COVID. It's kind of stayed since it started with COVID. So that kind of surprised me that it didn't dip down a little bit more. But again, I'm not surprised it didn't like skyrocket. It didn't go from like 13% to 50%. It's kind of just ridden right about the same, close to it, couple
And then I
percentage
know you
off.
put out a couple polls. Do you
Yes.
want to put them out together? Do you want to do one
Well,
versus the
so
other, or just kind of as a whole?
again, this didn't really say whether or not people left or changed because of the fact that of COVID. So we wanted to hear from you guys. And again, if you guys aren't following us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram because we're going to be trying to get you guys more engaged in the conversation because again, this is about us in our field and we want your guys' opinion on it and your guys' insight too because we can give insight to where we're at and the people we know, but we want more. So we stuck it out on Instagram. So again, if you're not following us, make sure you follow us there at the PT Assistants. We originally asked, do you still work at the same location as you did pre-pandemic? Uh, 62% of you said no, and 38% of you said yes. I was a little shocked by that, honestly. I was not expecting the no's to be as high.
Well, I
Like, it
mean,
does surprise me, but
even
doesn't surprise me.
even you, like you said, like we didn't put in specifics. We didn't ask why the case was. We just asked, are you still working in the same place that you were pre-pandemic and post?
Hmm.
And Laura falls in that same category.
I
Laura,
do.
for her reasons, regardless of what they are, she is not working at the same place pre and post.
Neither are you.
Well, so that I can't answer that because I wasn't working as a PTA
Well, yeah, that's
pre-pandemic
true.
anywhere.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. You kind of came out right at the tail
Loophole.
end of it. Loophole for you. And we'll get into my answer a little bit more because it does kind of fall under our follow-up question we had on Instagram. I did ask, did you change because of the pandemic? Because again, it's that's what we were curious to see, if the changes were because of the pandemic or just because of the fact that you're ready to
Anything
move on.
else.
Because that
Literally
happens.
anything else.
Family, move, like you never know. And 33% said yes and 67% said no. I wasn't too shocked by that one. A lot of times though too, I'm wondering if people thought just like in the healthcare itself, at work, if they're counting just that part of the pandemic. But like I'm also thinking like, hey, if you moved out of state because of pandemic, like I would count that as a change because of the pandemic. But it was definitely interesting to see. And then we threw it out also on the Discord. If you guys aren't following the Discord, you guys definitely should don't join that. Again, the link is in our bio on our Instagram. But we threw it out there and we
The
asked a couple
PTA
people.
source. Sorry, I just want to put the name
Yep.
out there.
Yep, the PTA source. So I think Ken's going to kind of go through just some of the answers and, the
Oh, I
interesting
am.
facts
Wow,
about it a little
we
bit.
did not plan that.
I thought you said you were
Sorry.
ready to go for that. Oh, then I can go.
Oh
I
no,
have
I
them
just
up
wanted
if
to
you
name the
want.
name. I didn't even have the window open. Laura, you put me on the spot, and I wasn't
I
even.
threw him off. My bad. I thought you had them still.
I wasn't. No, I had it on my other computer, but not on this one. Sheesh. All right, Laura's gonna sing us
So,
some karaoke while I pull this up.
well, I was just gonna go through it real quick.
Oh, okay.
I already have it up. That's why.
I
So,
just got it up.
pretty much the consensus was that it, any of the changes were not due to pandemic reasons. Some of them, of course, Grizz came on and he was like, I'm a traveler, so I'm definitely at a different location, but it has nothing to do with pandemic. And so that one gave me a little chuckle because I'm like,
Yeah,
well, yeah,
Geo
you're
did
a
as well.
traveler.
Geo was
So,
the same way. Geo's
yeah.
also a traveler, and he's also at a different location, but obviously
Yeah.
travelers don't count.
Not
That's
for
not
that
fair.
reason, but
Not for
we
this.
did go, we did talk to them about in their previous podcast as we go through, all the traveling and getting to know them. We did kind of bring that up, and you can kind of hear their experience of traveling during the pandemic if you're interested. Check those podcasts below. But it definitely looks like in the long run there are some lasting effects of the pandemic because one of our listeners or one of the members on the group did state that because of the pandemic things, it influenced how quickly she did change when she came out of school. It also, she stated that she'd become less committal in response to some of the lowering wages and the factors of external factors outside, which those are because of the pandemic too. We've got inflation and rent not, those are all going up, yet our wages are not going up. And so the rent and inflation is due to a lot of the pandemic issues. But yeah, our pay's not going up, so we're having to jump ship sometimes and go somewhere that we can get that pay to cover things. So I do feel like that's a little bit of a factor that maybe people aren't thinking that like has to do with the pandemic, I guess. What would you say, Kim?
No, yeah, I agree. I feel like, and that's just the hard part about this field in general, and we've talked about this at greater lengths for sure, but the struggle for sure is you sometimes can't work where you want to work or in what field just due to just all these other extrinsic factors
External.
that just kind of take over either priorities with wages and money, and it sucks because insurance has such a grip on all that. But I mean, but yeah, there's really, we've talked about this so many times, and it still burns me up inside talking about it because it's so frustrating. It really is.
It is just in general. Now going to my story a little bit of, since I technically worked at a place different during pandemic, and now I work somewhere completely different post pandemic. Did the pandemic play a factor in me leaving? Yes. Not necessarily burnout of the pandemic, not necessarily the patients I've been treating like some other people I know. It had to do with the fact that the company lost so much money in their eyes during the shutdowns and during the pandemic due to people not wanting to come in. And yes, we had other options like telehealth, and even our owner was doing home health for like car accidents and that kind of stuff of people who didn't want to come in. I didn't have to do the home health. I wasn't going to do it. Props to everybody who does, but again, we've already covered this. I don't got the strength for that.
It's been decided.
But yeah, I got a weak stomach, guys. I got like a weak nose, a weak stomach. I props to everybody who can't. Props. But the issue came later down the road, and I want to say about a year, not even, probably, well, maybe a year, give or take, after the pandemic had started. When things started coming back to normal, the amount of pressure of getting patients in, and the amount of like, just, it was revenue based and not even treatment based anymore, because they wanted to make more money, and just the way our ownership went down and some of the changes that happened. There was a lot, but I definitely feel like the pandemic played a part into the pressure of our numbers getting up so quickly. And instead of taking care of the staff during the pandemic, it was just kind of like, do whatever you got to do to get patients in. Um, Whether you're sick or not, like, it doesn't really matter. Just, you need to get working, and you need to get patients in. And that took a toll just generally on my mentality of like, ultimately, you don't really care about us as human beings. We're literally there just to generate money for you. And extra income too. Like, I know you're making a profit. So, you weren't going downhill. You weren't suffering that hard at the time. Because I knew things. And so I think that played a part into why I chose to leave. And again, I was kind of done between the pain in my foot and then just everything going on. I was ready to take a break. Like, I didn't even come back to the field for a year. I took a full year off practically, if not a little bit more. And I was checked out. I was done. I didn't think I was coming back to the field. But here I am. I couldn't stay away at all, literally. I love this job too much. And I think because of that, I've also realized that in the long run, it's about my happiness and needing to do what I need to do to keep myself happy and healthy. Again, eventually I'd love to go full time again, but at the same time, I'm not going to push myself into the point where I was breaking last time. So my mindset's changed a little bit since the pandemic, of just kind of like, it will recover without you. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So
You
on
gotta
the
take care
other
of
side,
yourself.
like I can't really say too much about it, just because like I said, like the peak tour for me was when I was in school. So what we might try to do is maybe try to get some guest speakers, and we can talk to them about pre and post, and just kind of their experiences, and kind of just reflect a little bit on how things have changed, how things are different, um, and kind of go from there.
Yeah. I will say
But
some people
down the
said
road.
that a good chunk of people I've talked to who have stayed were at their companies for a good amount of time. Um, and most of the people who I've talked to who have left were kind of there less than like 3 years. So um, I think that also plays a role into it too. So,
And then the last
yeah.
thing we'll probably cover on this topic, just because they covered it as well, was just kind of the treatments and illnesses that PTAs and PTs were treating after COVID, and how many were related to COVID. So for me, just me personally, I just saw we had several patients just still battling COVID like symptoms, or just kind of
Mhm.
that lingering effects. Like even now, the patients I'm treating right now, there are a couple that I'm treating that are still having shortness of breath that have never really recovered. So now we're working more on cardiovascular, which isn't really something that we were doing a lot before. Again, I was just a technician at that time, but now we've had more of an insurge of patients of post COVID, post COVID, post COVID. Like it's something that
Yeah.
we've been treating. I don't know if you are still getting some of that as well.
We've had one or two that's not the main reason they come in, but it's something that we've kind of worked on a little bit hand in hand. Uh, but it's hard because for me, I feel like I've heard a lot more, but I've not seen a lot more. I don't know. It's like weird for me.
Like you've heard a lot more.
Like everybody says, like, oh, we're getting more, we're gonna see a lot more, and then I never see more.
Oh, gotcha. Like you're expecting to
So I
see
don't
more,
know.
but it never really happens.
Yeah, I'm like
Maybe it's
prep for
maybe
it,
it's
and
the
then
other locations that do it. Who knows?
maybe, yeah. You never know too. Just like it all depends on your location too. So who knows?
All
But
right. Well, I guess it kind of just wraps it up for this episode. As far
yeah,
as physical therapy talk. So from here on out, I'm going to talk to some about something completely unrelated to physical therapy. So if you want to stick around for that, then by all means, we'd love to have you. For those who want to close out, thank you so much for listening. We hope you guys are enjoying your day, your week, your month, your year,
don't
and
forget to follow
don't
us.
forget to follow, like, share, do all the things. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you next time. For those hanging out and wondering what this last portion is going to be about, and Laura
Yeah, this
as
is
well,
news to
is
me.
Laura's got this look on her face like, what are we just going to go into? But it's completely unrelated. So this weekend we went to California,
A little fun.
celebrated a friend's birthday.
Can you try to kill
Laura,
me?
that's actually what we're going to talk about. So
Talk about side effects.
yeah, so this is just kind of fun what we just kind of did over the weekend.
Yes.
We've been posting a lot of replays recently, and thank you for bearing with us. We've just been insanely busy the past couple weeks trying to figure out times and coordinating. Again, we're just doing this for fun because we enjoy it. We think it's important for our field. We're not
We
making
don't
money
get
with this.
paid nothing.
It's also just kind of our self-care. Like we're doing things that we enjoy doing at the same time, just to kind of step away from certain things. It's also playoff hockey. There's just so much going on. But this
What?
weekend,
You mean Knights won? What?
I have a couple Dallas fans that are not happy about it.
Ooh, sorry, Dallas.
They're Dallas
My bad.
patients, Dallas fan patients. It's so funny.
I've got some Dallas fan patience. I got some
They're
Dallas
just.
people I
I was
know.
just like, I was like, you guys can just leave now. It's fine. Your treatment's done. But this weekend something fun happened. So we went to a place called Howlin' Ray's. If you haven't been there, it's in California. It's a spicy chicken place,
There are two of them,
and
LA's and Pasadena.
they, to me, it's the spiciest chicken I've really ever had in
And
my
Ken
life.
likes spices, guys.
I like
Like
spicy.
this
I
man
like
will
spicy.
chips and he'll eat mild salsa, and be sweating. But the man doesn't stop. He goes full hardcore, like
Because I think
hot
it's
is not
delicious.
hot enough. Let me
Just
just
for
eat like
reference,
ghost peppers.
for Christmas, two of my coworkers both gave me hot sauce samplers
Yes, he
for
has a
Christmas,
problem, guys. I
and
brought you
I mean,
back
I didn't
hot
think
sauce,
on me hot sauce.
remember?
You did.
I went to
You got me
Tennessee
hot
and I
sauce.
got you hot sauce.
Right now, I have like an around the world one. Anyways, so
I
we
keep
went to
ghost
Howlin'
pepper hot
Ray's.
sauce at my house for you.
I appreciate it. So Howlin' Ray's, their spiciest is a Howlin', and they have an off menu Howlin'
Secret.
Plus secret menu, and we all tried it. Laura,
Oh,
well,
gosh.
I've done it already before. I've done it a couple times now, actually. But Laura, her husband, a couple friends who have never done it, tried it for the first time, and we already warned them that they're being overly ambitious because
Well, hold
it
on.
was
Mine was
not a
actually
friend,
tiny.
and
First
we
of
still
all,
made it
our one
smaller.
friend, yes, our one friend was about to, like, literally, he was trying to kill me, I think, because I I took a small piece with not even skin on it, and he's like, that can't count. You have to have skin on it. Da, 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 da.
I mean, that's where all the
And
spice
so I'm
is.
like, yeah, well, I'm like, okay. And so I get another piece, and he's like, yeah, that's it. And like, it was pretty much larger. And thank goodness for your girlfriend, Kelsey, because, you know, Kelsey, she's got my back. Shout out to Kelsey, because she saved me, and she goes, I wouldn't even do that. And I'm like, okay, if you won't do it, I should not do it.
And
Which, by the way,
Laura,
guys, we were also driving back home this
yeah,
afternoon.
that was like our last stop, and I mean, we're playing with fire, literally.
Worst ideas. Literally.
And her husband was trying to convince me to match his piece, and I was like, I commend you,
He went for
but
it.
I wouldn't at all judge you if you make it smaller, because absolutely not. It was already pretty large, and I mean, needless to say, it was quite the experience. I think everybody
cut my
enjoyed it
tongue
because it
out.
was hilarious. Now we have a
It
great
was
story, nice shared experience that we all had. Her husband was crying, trying to contain it. I saw tears coming down his eyes.
They
had
did
another
roll. Our
friend
one friend
convincing-
sweating like bullets.
convincing himself that spice can't kill him because we were about to call emergency services. Luckily, Laura and I know CPR, but it was bad.
I'm not gonna lie. So we pulled off the freeway to get gas, and when we got gas, our one friend who's sweating bullets was riding it. So it was me and my husband in one car, and two of our other friends, and then you guys were in another car. So we pull off to get gas. He rolls out of the car, and the next thing I know, my husband's going, yeah, he's thrown up. And we can hear it. Like, he went pretty decent, and we can hear him up checking. I was like, oh my gosh. Then all of a sudden, my husband, I see, disappears behind a plant. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, guys, I'm still not walking. I told our other friend, I was like, if you leave me and you go down too, I'm screwed. I'm by myself. My husband just drinks so much liquids to try to get the burn to calm down. He just really had to pee, so he went behind a bush. Our other friend was like, yeah, I don't feel very good. So my family home is on the way back to Vegas from this place. So we stopped off there, and we got some Tums, some more water, some extra stuff.
Quite the experience. But I commend you guys for doing it. Laura doesn't really do a lot of spice, so I commend her for doing it. She actually tried it.
It wasn't bad. The flavor was good. It's just
experiencing with us.
It was a slow burn. And then the moment you think, the thing I think that got me is the moment you think that spice is gone, you're like, oh, okay. Like, you get the milk out, you get some ice cold water out. I even ate some waffles with it, and I was like, oh, it's gone. Okay, it peaked. It was like, haha, mother, you know what?
It's right back.
I'm back.
So if anybody's ever in LA, Pasadena area and want to experience what we went through, get the Howlin' Plus. Sometimes they make you sign waivers, and just make sure
that's for the plus now.
You just get a small piece. You don't need to go ham. Don't get a big piece.
That's the crazy thing. They give you three full chicken nuggets too.
With the Howlin' Plus. You can get a wing, and it's just like one giant chicken wing.
Oh. Then why didn't we do that?
I don't know. Anyways, if you stuck around
touch it with your hands.
Story, yeah. If you've ever handled spice, use gloves. Don't touch your face. Be careful going to the bathroom afterwards. It's a whole process.
Jeremy's still recovering.
I don't doubt it. This is a day later. But if you stick around us for that little story, we appreciate you. Just kind of a little side fun story what we did over the weekend.
Have some more stories.
We've been really busy just doing a whole bunch of other stuff. If you enjoyed this little segment, then let us know. We can do a little side pieces at our end of our episodes, just to kind of, get to know us a little better. Why not?
Yeah.
But after that, just take care. We'll see you next time.
We'll talk to you guys later.
The information in this video or podcast is not intended nor implied to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content, including text, graphics, images, and information contained in this video or podcast is for general information purposes only and does not replace your professors or a consultation from your own doctor or healthcare professional.